We have a guest, and our guest today is Mr. Victor Nyogesa, who's an advocate for participatory local governance in Kenya with years of experience in governance, policy analysis and advocacy, research, and budget analysis and advocacy. He currently serves as the Chief Executive Officer for the Youth Agenda, a steering committee member for the Elections Observation Group, ILOG, and as a board member at the Constitution and Reform Education Consortium. Introduction, sema bio, my friends. Karibu sana, Mr. Victor Nyogesa. Can you hear me? That's your microphone.
Okay.
And those are your headphones. You can. Kinoti, so please. Right.
Okay. Thanks so much.
Yes.
My name is Victor Nyogesa, and that's my profile.
Right.
I currently serve as the CEO for Youth Agenda, and I'm very grateful to be a part of this. Yeah.
Welcome to the studio.
Yes, thanks so much.
So you work at the Youth Agenda?
Yes.
What is the Youth Agenda?
So Youth Agenda, we are a non-government organization,
right.
an NGO, that was established in 1996. And this NGO was established by 6 young people who felt at that time the government was not involving young people in governance. So these young people came up to form this organization and just with the goal of ensuring that they give young people a voice to participate in governance processes. And this involves elections and other decision-making that within the government. And as an organization, now we are proud ourselves that we've now been in existence for 25 years now. That's
a long time.
Yes.
And in your bio, I also saw that you're a steering committee member for Elections Observation Group,
yes.
ILOG.
Yes.
And you're also a board member at the Constitution and Reform Education Consortium.
Yes.
You know, we're in an election year, 2022. And currently, as we're speaking, there's the voter registration drive that's currently going on. And the IEBC chair has expressed his disappointment in the ongoing process and said that, you know, the youth are not participating in the process, and they've actually taken the voter registration process to universities and colleges. What do you have to say about that, and what's the Youth Agenda doing in regards to, you know, sensitization and raising awareness on the importance of voting to the youth bloc?
Okay, if you look at the past elections and the research that has been done either through ILOG, through ILOG we try our best to observe electoral process. You know, it's a process. It's not a 1 year thing. It's not a one event thing. It happens, and also there are other things that happen post-election. So the issue of voter registration is a concern to us. And for us as an organization, we are also keen in just trying to see what IEBC is doing to ensure that young people come out in large numbers. And if you look at the first mass voter registration process, the IEBC was targeting about 6 million young people.
Right.
But they managed to register only about 1.5 million of young people. But just from our observation, we realized that there are quite a number of issues that led to why young people didn't register. But again, we cannot say IEBC is targeting young people alone. There are people who are adults, above 35 still, and some of them have not registered. But for young people who are below 35 years, especially the youth, those who are between 18 to 35, and I'm mostly concerned with these individuals who are between 18 to 22. This is a group that most of them are going to vote for the first time, and majority of them are not interested in the election. So I like the approach where IEBC is taking the mass voter registration to campus, because majority of these individuals are in higher learning institutions. So it means it's an important thing for IEBC there to go and look for these young people in the higher learning institutions, because if you don't do that, then definitely they'll not come out to register.
Do you feel that the youth are disappointed in the leaders and the people who are vying? Because if you look at you know, if you go through social media and if you look at what the youth are talking about, it's more of a case of choosing between the lesser evil. And, you know, there's a lot of disappointment expressed by the youth that they do not feel that they're included in this process, and they do not have anyone who represents their interests at heart. Do you feel that that could be the case?
Yes, that's one of the reasons why young people are less interested in elections, and that's why some of them are not even going to register. And you know, for us as young people, I say young people are also young, I fall in that category,
which is 35 and below.
35 and below.
All right.
In fact, I'm turning 30 this year.
Oh, you're turning 30?
Yes.
Wow! Wow! You're turning 30. Oh, Jesus! So if I'm 35 and above, Mimi, see
you're no longer youth.
Guy.
And unfortunately, those ones who are above 35 are the ones who purport themselves, they call themselves as youthful, or they are youth at heart.
So youth need 35 and below?
Yes, 18 to 35.
Guy.
The moment you hit 36.
I can't even believe I've been calling myself a youth. Wow, no wonder. Okay, carry on.
So for us as young people, we are frustrated. If you look at the past leadership, the past regimes we've had in this country, the past elections, young people turned out in large numbers, even just the 2017 elections.
Right.
If you look at the report published by ILOG, young people came out in large numbers to register as voters and also to vote. But again, we are frustrated because if you look at the kind of service, the kind of leadership we have in this country, to some extent, it kills our morale as young people. And that aspect of us losing hope, it also triggers down to even these fresh voters, individuals who are going now to vote for the first time.
Yes.
So, and that's one of the major reasons why young people are not going out there to register.
Yes.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
It's
So
very disappointing.
Yes.
Yes.
Wow. I like the insight that you're sharing. So does that mean that, in this whole process, then how do I'm trying to figure it out. And it's a bit of a complex situation because now the youth, in 2017, you talk about that report that there were, record numbers of young people registered to vote in 2017. Yes. And this year, the numbers are quite low. And, the voter apathy is evident. So does that mean that the youth are also disappointed in the youth? Yeah, who are vying for these political positions? Because in 2017, the youth card had been played, by almost every young person who was vying for a political seat. Do you think the youth are disappointed because of these very people who purported to be, representing them and failed?
Yes, to some extent, I'll say yes, because if you look at just the current regime, we have young people who are in parliament, we have young people who are appointed for the various appointive seats. But again, there are those who a few have performed, but majority again, to some extent, we are very disappointed with them.
Yes.
And unfortunately, if you look at the kind of leadership we have in this country, those individuals who have the good qualities, they have the qualities to be leaders in this country. Majority of them do not vie for those political seats. And those ones who have mastered the art of politics now, they are gatekeepers and all that. Any opportunity that comes, they're the first to speak.
Right.
They're the ones who are going for those political seats. And unfortunately, they're much winners and they are in office to serve us. But we don't see that fruit coming from them.
So what do you feel? What do you think can be done? And especially when it comes to professionals in this country, because when it comes to the political process, we also see the divide. We also see the disparity in voting. And, the voting patterns in this country, like I said, the disparities are quite enormous. There's the middle class and lower class. The middle class, first of all, does not participate in elections. So what do you think can be done?
First, I would say we need to change our voting strategy. Why? Not as a country, but as young people.
Yeah.
If you look at the current situation, most of us are saying we need to increase the number of young people who are going to vote.
Yeah.
But we are not talking about the quality of voting.
Yes.
So if you look at
the quality of the leader.
Yes.
Yeah.
So if we talk about quality of the leader and even they having these young people vote meaningfully, because when I say meaningfully, they vote for a leader they believe they will perform.
Right.
And unfortunately, if you look at the past elections, in most cases, we tend to vote for a party or an individual who will dish out a lot of money.
Yes.
But these individuals at the end up not performing. But for us as a country, then we need to focus more on how do we change the mindset of young people that it's not all about money, it's not all about a party, but vote for someone, has the quality to perform. And of course, there are individuals who understand why they're in that office. That should be the first thing we should do as a country.
Right. Yes. And you spoke about voting patterns in this country.
Yes.
if you look at historically, if you look at the election patterns of this country, people vote in waves, and people vote according to the political parties they're aligned with, not really necessarily about the values that the political parties have. And if you were to ask anyone about the values the political parties, they support, if they have any values or any ideals that they support or any ideals that they identify with, most people will tell you no. But, you mentioned about the young people changing their mindsets instead of voting for political parties and their ideals. I mean, political parties and the waves, or a politician who's dishing out a lot of money. People should now look for leadership qualities and people they can hold accountable. And there are very many young people as well who are vying on independent tickets this election. Do you think they have a chance?
Yes, they have a chance.
Yeah.
But also, to some extent, if you look at the past elections again, when you are in a political party, high chances are there are quite a number of advantages you have over that person who is vying as an independent. Under a party, of course, you have that wave. We said the wave itself, and then at the same time, you also have leaders you are looking up to, those ones who are mentoring that young person, and even just looking at the popularity of that party sometimes also determines how people vote in this country. So for individuals who are going as independent candidates, then they also have to ensure that they are on the ground, they have the masses for them to emerge winners. So vying as an independent, of course, it has its own challenges.
Right. Wow. Okay, interesting. But I feel in regards to political parties and the Political Parties Act that, the MPs were really fighting against. So does that mean that we're going to see a few more changes as we, come close to the elections?
Yes. With this amendment, and also just looking at the way political parties have structured their nomination this year, they're trying their best to reduce the number of people vying as independent candidates, and also to reduce the number of people moving from one party to another party.
Yeah.
Yes, and that's why they waited for IBC to publish the election calendar. And then they placed their nomination at a period where it will limit the number of people hopping from one party to another. And also, also to limit the individuals who will lose as candidates under a political party, and they opt of going as independent. Because if you look at the numbers of independent candidates in the 2017 general elections, yes, there were many. And of course, some of them emerged winners. Yes, emerged winners in the parliament. But again, as a country, we appreciate multi-party. We appreciate individuals. If you feel there's no party that you feel has the same ambition or shares the same ideology with as you as a candidate, then you're allowed to go as an independent candidate. But for me, I always encourage young people to opt first to think of joining a party, because if you're not a member of a party, then definitely you won't compete. You won't vie on that ticket. Again, you won't be able to vote for it during the party primaries. And also, of course, for you as a young person to have a voice and also influence the political party as an external person, but you are a member of that party, then also you have to try and ensure that you are a member of that political party. And for me, as Victor and Youth Agenda, that's one of the things we are very keen on. This period, we are trying to ensure that we encourage more young people, those want to vie, those ones who, of course, they just want to participate in election, either through voting or observing elections and all that. But we are trying to encourage young people to join political parties and, for them to exercise that role.
But don't you feel like political parties always, aim for the election season for them to start, wooing young people to join their parties? It's not like it's a continuous process. Like after elections, you'll have a youth conference or there's the youth agenda. It's not evident, and it's not. We do not see any of this, programs, or we do not see any of these conferences or whatever agendas for the youth right after elections. It's like, once the elections are done, that's it. And, people wait for the next elections for them to, rally the youth again. Don't you think and don't you feel it should be a continuous process? And in that regard, then you would have more loyalty in terms of party membership and people who have ideals and share the same values for the party.
Yes, if you to be honest, the the option of individuals joining political party, it's always open. Unfortunately, in this country, we tend to wait until it's election period. That's the time we start encouraging young people to join political parties. We start encouraging young people to register as voters. But these processes are always open, even post-election. But unfortunately, even just from the reality, having been in this NGO sector, if you implement an election program, even post-election, sometimes people tend to question, why are you doing an election program and we are not in an election mode? So people tend to think you're not within the law, you're doing something that is irrelevant.
Or it's a sinister motive.
Yes. And that's why even you see even the political parties at that period, most of them tend to go silent and wait until it's an election period. Yes. And it's the same thing. I was even yesterday, I was encouraging the political parties. Even this morning, I had a meeting with the secretary generals of various political parties. I was trying to encourage them that you guys should stop. You should stop this thing of waiting until it's election period, because at this period, very few will register. But if you make it public that this process is open even post-election, then young people, of course, they'll join political parties. They'll register even as voters. And that's also that's an advice we give IBC. They should not wait until it's 8 months to election. Then now they start rolling out a mass voter registration process, encouraging young people to turn out in large numbers. Yet that process is always open. Even post-election, yes. Yeah.
And do you feel like there's a disconnect in terms of messaging and in terms of communicating with the youth? Because it feels like, the people in leadership are always talking down and talking at and not talking to, So it's like, okay, so voter registration ndio hii sasa mwende mpige kura, and mjipange, It's not like, okay, so we're here, we have an election process that's coming. Would you guys be, interested in voting? And what are your concerns? What are your challenges? No one ever engages the youth at that level. Do you feel there's a disconnect in terms of communication?
One thing I appreciate in this country is most young people are tech savvy.
Right.
And again, we have one challenge as youth. Most of us prefer seeing, listening than reading. So as an institution that plays a role in election process, then you also have to try your best to remain innovative, remain creative in a way that you are able to target and reach these young people. And if you look at now the current generation, I tend to focus more on this XYZ generation, 18 to 22.
Yes.
These are an individual who is always on social media online.
Most of the time,
most of the time.
Yeah.
And if you look at how a month ago, I was asking one of my siblings, you spend most of your time online. How many hours do you spend in a day on Facebook and Twitter and TikTok? More than 3 hours, more than 4 hours. But when you're scrolling, when you come across an advert by IBC, do you tend to spend like 30 minutes just to read what they are sharing?
They're saying,
Yes. But unfortunately, most of them do not do that. So for this institution, then they have to think of how can we target these individuals? How can we reach these young people? And that can only be done through short animated videos, infographics that can be shared easily through WhatsApp and other social media platforms. And even now, TikTok has offered another platform for this young
big platform.
Yes.
Really huge.
For these young people. And I also appreciate the role of radio. Because we have Trace Radio and other radio stations that target young people, have shows that target young people, and young people are listening. And I know at the moment, most young people out there who know Victor Nyogesa are listening.
Yes.
And this gives us an opportunity to target this youth. And unfortunately, if you look at the way most of government agencies, electoral institutions, we tend to focus more on print and paperwork and all that, or we just put information on our social media, on our website.
Yes.
And we expect people will visit our website and download this information. But unfortunately, very few do that.
Yes. And it just doesn't work like that.
Yes.
All right. So what would you tell the young people out there who are still not decided whether they're going to vote or not as we wind up this interview, and who probably think, this election process doesn't really matter to them, and we keep saying that the youth are the future, but they're like, what future?
Yes, on that one, I will say young people need to understand one thing. Failing to vote is like voting for that individual whom you didn't want to be in office.
Yeah,
it's like voting for someone or that person who has been in office for quite some time and they've not performed, but it's just that you decided not to vote. Then you give them an advantage to use their members, to use their supporters to get back to office.
Yeah.
And for me, I'll encourage young people that as much as we feel disappointed by past regimes and all that, we still have to exercise our role to vote and also to ensure that we have credible leaders within in the office. And this only through this, if someone doesn't perform after 5 years, let's remove that person, let's bring in another person. It will reach a point where others will fear that if in these 5 years, if I do not perform, then definitely after the 5 years, I'll be going home.
Kicked out.
Yes.
But do you also feel that, do you feel like Kenyans hold their leaders accountable?
A few. I'll say most of us, we tend to rely heavily on civil society organizations and NGOs.
Yeah.
We tend to let them do that work. Yet the Constitution gives us that power as citizens to hold our leaders accountable and ensure that they perform as per their mandate. But unfortunately, as citizens, we tend to avoid that. We see it as a civil society organization thing. We see it as a waste of time, even despite the Constitution giving us the opportunity to participate through the public participation provision.
Yes.
And this information, to some extent, is readily available out there.
Yeah.
But again, I still feel there's need for us as a country to invest heavily in educating the citizens, for us to know that it's my role. I can recall my MCA, I can recall my MP, we can recall our governor, and we can exercise that citizens, because it's guaranteed under the Constitution and other legislations that are in place to implement the Constitution.
Yeah.
But this information can only be accessed in most cases for us as civil society organizations. Sometimes we tend to do boardroom meetings, and we forget that we need to channel this information to the grassroots level where the citizens are, and for them to also to understand that, yes, I have the power to influence.
Yeah.
I have the power to elect a leader that I feel after the elections I'll be able to engage, I'll be able to hold accountable. Na ka hata perform, naweza reach out and it's time for you to go home.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow. And what's your message to the young people who are vying for these political positions?
For those who are vying, first, one thing I have noted about young people who are going to vie, one challenge I've noted is when you get a platform, and such a national platform, like today I'm on this radio, it's a national platform.
Yes.
Kindly share your vision.
Yes.
Let the people out there see you as a leader. Yes. Unfortunately, some of us, we tend to, again, you are given an opportunity and you bring in the joke of the mbogi and your friends and all that. You communicate something that most people do not understand. But for me, I always encourage young people those ones who are going to vie, that if you get such a platform, let people out there see you as a leader. Even if you don't get that seat, there's someone else somewhere else, someone who saw you and they feel you have the capacity to perform.
Right.
They would rather either opt for appointing you for a certain position or even just employing you in another institution.
Yeah.
And that's how we find ourselves in these spaces. That's the approach for me, what I'll say. And for us as civil society organization and even just institutions that we are in the electoral process, we need to focus more on equipping these young people with communication skills on how to engage the citizens and how to come up with manifestos that relate to the issues that citizens are struggling with.
Are there leadership academies, before we wind up, that help people who are vying for political positions in this country?
Yes, there are quite a number. Even today, I know there's one institution that is training young aspirants. Even as Youth Agenda, we always train young aspirants, especially during election period. We focus more on their communication, how they can brand themselves, how they can fundraise for the election, and how they can develop manifestos that, of course, are issue-based and that addresses the needs of young people on the ground.
Right.
I know there are other organizations that are also mentoring young aspirants. They have mentorship programs that are ongoing at the moment.
Okay.
Yes.